Hey, I'm Kev Kiermaster and welcome to Scenario Mode with the Classic Cars, Episode 3, the halfway mark. And last time out in that Lotus, we battled the Ferraris for the win and we managed to succeed in Scenario 2. But we are still in a race from Scenario 3. Let's see what we do.
Push for a podium finish.
I was expecting more Murray, but as you can see, we are trying to get a podium from the back of the grid. This is the best 80s car. The game is telling us it's the best 80s car, and we're going to be starting on the back row along with our teammate Gerhard Berger. We've got to fight through the field and try and get a podium and even try and get that win, of course. And don't expect me to be high up on that leaderboard. I expect to, be batting hard with the AI for most of the race. So let's go to Jerez.
Here we are at Jerez for another classic event, and we're in for an exciting race today with the 1988 Ferraris starting as favourites. Now, they've got a performance advantage, but they'll have to push on from the back of the grid. So, we should see plenty of overtaking.
Let's push for a podium today. You might be at the back of the grid, but you have the fastest car on the track. Go for it.
Oh, everyone's expecting us to get on that podium and win from the back of the grid, as we got Berger alongside us, our teammate. We got a great start, looking on the outside here to make some moves into turn one as the Lotuses battle and the Williams battle as well. And look at that nice clear air and space. Oh, as the Williams gets close to the Lotus, already up to 5th place, already halfway up the field. As into turn two, we're diving down the inside of the Lotus, split them in two, and we're already up to 3rd place. We knocked down the inside of Jones in the Williams, but it looks like we're not going to make a move, and we have to back off there. A bit sloppy from us, so we're trying to hold off Andretti now, who was our target, and he's in 4th place behind us, right behind us. But we're putting out a gap, and through the chicane, if we just get it right, we can put out even a bigger gap on the Lotus behind us, and it looks like we have, as we try and gain on these Williams in front. As we know, the Williams slowest of the 80s cars, as they're from the 1980, the beginning of the decade. This is from the end of the decade, end of the turbo era as well in 88. So we've got nice fast engine above the car, and better aerodynamics, understanding, and just faster car in general. As in looking all over the back of Jones here, and Prost is leading, just cruising at the front. We've got a little gap to Andretti there, just under a second, but if we get a good run on Jones, we can maybe make a move into that last corner, the Jorge Lorenzo corner as it's now known. But we're making it into the right hand kink even, as we're up to 2nd place, and it looks like Andretti has followed us through. So great move from us there, taking advantage of our fast engine compared to the Williams, and we're right on the back of Prost. But as I say, we're going to make up some miles on him into turn one. Can we make a move? He's giving us some room, he's opened the door, and we are going to close the door on him maybe and take this 1st place. Yes, we are, into turn two, nice and smooth, and just over a lap we've already got into the lead from the back of the grid. I expected that to be a bit harder. We have a bit more batting with the AI. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit dull, I reckon, as we're just going to be a bit messy, but we're going to keep it on the black stuff, hopefully, as we're just over 2.5 seconds ahead of Jones in 4th, and we're putting out a gap on Prost, who's leading ahead of Andretti in 2nd place, but we're leading the race overall, and we're just going to be putting away in this Ferrari. Unfortunately, it's going to be a bit dull, but that does mean I have time to talk about this Ferrari that we are driving, the Ferrari F1/87/88C. Bit of a mouthful, that name, and it has a Ferrari Tipo 033E V6 1.5 litre turbo engine in the back of it, and this engine is just a modified version of the 87 engine. This is just a modified version of the 87 car, the Ferrari F1/87, driven by Michele Barretto and Gerhard Berger in both seasons. It was designed by Gustav Brunner and John Bernard, the technical officer, who actually wasn't in Maranello in Ferrari, the home base of Ferrari. Is actually in Guildford in England designing, and so it was a bit of a strange relationship with the guys at Maranello, and it's a bit strained, and it particularly showed with the engine side, because they really had struggled with fuel consumption, Ferrari, in 88, because they had new fuel capacity rules for 88. They modified the car with new front ring, new rear ring, and kind of a lower engine cover, because the fuel capacity was down from 195 litres in 87 to 150 litres in 88, and Ferrari really did struggle with this, as they just modified the engine, the Ferrari Tipo. They didn't build an all new one like Honda did for McLaren, and so Honda had much better fuel consumption than Ferrari throughout the whole season. And so you'd see Ferrari get quite speedy in the first few parts of the race and then really have to dull back and slow down in the second half of races. And that really did show themselves in Great Britain in particular, where Berger got pole. He didn't even finish the race, even though for half the race he was really in mega fuel consumption saving mode. And John Bernard suggested to the team, you know, just take 1,000 revs off the engine and then reconfigure the engine to, you know, make up for the power loss. They finally did this just before the Italian Grand Prix, and would you guess it, they got a 1-2 in Monza with Berger leading home Alboreto. The only non-win for McLaren that year, as Ayrton Senna got taken out, of course, in the lead by John Lewis Stressler, or it was a bit of a racing incident. Senna did come back from way back, but you know, Stressler back marker didn't give him room at all, and it was the only win of the year for Berger, and he only had that pole at Britain, but he did have 4 other podiums, sorry. He also had a podium at Germany and in 3 of the first 4 races at Brazil, Monaco and Mexico. Alboreto had podiums at Monza, at Monaco and at France, and he finished 5th in the drivers even, with 24 points, just behind Terry Boutsen, who was 4th in the drivers. Berger was 3rd in the drivers, 41 points, equaling his best result in the Drivers' Championship, which stranger was Osat Ferrari in 94, with 3rd, with 41 points, with 1 win. And they finished 2nd in the Constructors, 65 points Ferrari, behind the dominant McLarens at the front. And so it was a very good year for Ferrari, and this has been a very good race for me as we complete this scenario and won it by miles. We just cruised for most of that race. So you can see first in the Ferrari 88 Ferrari, and it was quite comfortable in the end. Let's see what Murray says.
From the back of the grid to the front of the pack, it's first place for the 88 Ferrari. Fantastic!
Oh, fantastic indeed, Murray, as we passed the scenario, got the gold medal, won by over 18 seconds, got no time penalties, and we got a score of 77,500, which we'll find out if it's good in a few seconds. But yeah, great car to drive, and we just passed this scenario in style as well. Halfway through now the scenario mode in the classic cars, and we're going to have the 90 cars next time out, as we're finished with the 80s cars now. Going to move on to the 90s for the last 3 scenarios, with 2 at Brands Hatch and the last one at Jerez next time out. But as you can see, that score got us in the top 250, would you believe, when this game first came out. But I expect we're much lower now. As I said, we did this quite a few months ago, but great scenario and worked out very well for us. But next time out, we're going to be in Jerez for the 4th scenario in the 90s cars. So, unfortunately, so till then, cheerio.